Hello, and welcome to Life.EV, a podcast that dives into exploring values. This is episode number 21. I'm your host, Ajit Panicker, and I lead an air conditioning company, Nova, and Pure Blue, a tech startup in the air conditioning domain. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., we join together and we come here for conversations that go beyond business growth, focusing on the values that fuel it. Let's embark on this journey to uncover our true purpose and how we can grow by enriching our lives. Welcome to Life.EV, where we explore values in life and business. And we have with us Vivek Asrani, who's been actually talking about all his reflections. Hi, Vivek. Great to have you back.
Hi Ajit, how are you doing? Good to be back as well.
Awesome. Vivek Asrani is the driving force behind KMO Fastener Company, a trailblazing company in the industrial fastener sector. What sets Vivek apart is his deep engagement with the exploration of values. Now, for close to 4 years, he has dedicatedly penned his reflections on the topic every week. These insightful thoughts are accessible on his website, vivekasrani.com. Additionally, Vivek has authored the book One Day at a Time, Reflections from Times of Silence, which further delves into his journey and insights. This thought provoking read is available on Amazon, offering readers a chance to engage with his profound understanding of values and their role in both personal and professional lives. In today's episode of Life.EV, we are delving into a topic, the art of carrying people with us. Over to you, Vivek. Let's hear your reflection on this.
Yeah, Ajit, it's one of the most difficult uh, arts to develop, one of the most difficult things to do in life, and yet one of the most powerful things if we are able to learn the art of carrying people for the simple reason that at the end of the day, as individuals, no matter how brilliant or talented we are, we can only achieve that much. It is working with a team and working with others that gives us that exponential fillip in life, and we can go that much more. Second is, of course, we can impact the lives of people when we learn the art of carrying them with us. So it's one of the most difficult, but I would say one of the most important things that all of us need to work on for ourselves. And what does it therefore mean to carry people with us? And there are five aspects of this which I have spoken of in my reflection, which I'll share with you today. The first is we need to learn how to trust people. We often say that we trust people, and then in the work context, and sometimes even in the home context, we end up micromanaging people. And micromanagement is an indication that we haven't fully empowered and trusted our teams. There's a beautiful saying that very little grows under the shade of the oak. And that's the same principle, in terms of carrying people. If we are always hovering over them, always micromanaging them, they're not going to develop. And beyond a point, they're not going to stay with us. And we won't be able to really carry them with us. The second aspect is the belief that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. Now, I'm using the word ordinary people in a very responsible way, but what I mean is that sometimes people with very humble backgrounds are capable of leadership qualities which otherwise we might, overlook. And let me give you an example. Mahesh used to deliver parcels to our office. From, he was working in a courier company. He asked us whether we had a job, and we did have an opening. He was put in the spare parts department, and his job was to maybe retrieve spares and just move spares from the stores to the engineers, and like a normal regular office person responsibility. But there was something in him. He was alert, he was willing to learn. And long story short, Mahesh today heads the entire spare parts department of 5,000 spares run through a computer system. Our engineers discuss things with him and confer with him if they are out of a spare part. And I remember once when I was standing in the spare center with my head of R&D and technical, and we were talking about some spares, and I said, Robert, can't we do something about these spares. And he said, we've stopped selling this model of tools, so these spares are obsolete and it's going to be very difficult. And Mahesh is standing there and just listening to this conversation, and he very sheepishly goes, he says, रॉबर्ट भाई ये पार्ट, ये ट्रिगर वाल्व वो टूल में हम लोग यूज कर सकते हैं ना? And my senior most person thinks about it, he says, "Ha, actually he's right. We could use that over there." And that's the kind of leadership. So what I find is that people are starved of opportunities, and it's our job as entrepreneurs to give them opportunities if we want to carry them with us. The third aspect is we as leaders and entrepreneurs and owner managers need to be consistent in our behavior. We cannot afford to be moody. It's not that we don't go through moods internally, but if we have to carry people with us, we can't be unpredictable. Predictability is extremely important. People need to know what to expect from us. If every morning they have to see the geography on our face to figure out the history of their fate, that's not a happy environment to work in. And then we won't be able to carry people with us. Fourth is that we have to recognize that empathy is part of carrying people, because people come from different backgrounds with challenges which we may not be aware of. When we help people carry their burdens, we learn how to carry people with us. But our willingness and ability to be empathetic and carry their burden and not take the attitude that, listen, that's your problem, I don't care. Well, if you take an I don't care attitude, then even they will not care. And how will you carry them with you? Because they're not going to stay with you. So the ability to carry their burden with them and help them in their challenges helps us carry people with us. And the last is, people will make mistakes. And very often we make some of the biggest mistakes in our own organizations. Sometimes there's no one to hold us as accountable, but we're very quick in holding others accountable. Rather than getting into critical mode, and of course, I'm not for a moment saying that we shouldn't hold people accountable. Yes, we have to hold them accountable. But if we start turning these mistakes into learning opportunities, where we help develop people to the next level, where not only do they compensate for the mistake, but we've also created a fabulous team around us, which then disproportionately creates value far in excess of some of the mistakes that may have been made, then we've really carried people with us. So these five aspects, that when we trust people, when we believe that there's a leadership skill in everyone, where ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things, where we are consistent in our behavior and our moods, where we recognize that empathy is important and people are sitting on challenges and we help carry their burden, and when we take mistakes not as mistakes but as learning opportunities, I think then my experience at least has been that it helps carry people with us.
Amazing. Yeah. So, Vivek, when you talk about this, I'm going to just flip some of the things that you just said uh, into a scenario of a family business. And we have a lot of our viewers who are actually entrepreneurs, who are second generation, and some of them are even third generation entrepreneurs. Now, often when a business goes through multiple generations, a lot more stakeholders come in from the family, right? And I have seen a lot of these families just fall apart within the second or the third generation. And some of the main reason is because you suddenly have realized that you are better than somebody else, or somebody is not as good as you, or is not as driven as you are. What happens in this case is, often you are wanting to compete with somebody who may not be as good as you, but at the end of the day, there are certain value propositions that come in just because you're a family member, right? So the question that I've realized is, sometimes you just need to ask a very practical questions. Do you want to compete with your family members who are there just because they're family? Or you want to just pool in your strengths together and compete with the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Which is a bigger platform. So in a way, this also comes to a big question, when it comes to leadership, uh, you know, the art of carrying people, how crucial is it when it comes to leading an organization and taking the organization to a whole new level?
So, there's a simple principle that I try and follow. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but my mantra for this, if I can put it that way, is that If you carry a big ego, it is very difficult to carry people with you. Sometimes people may stay with you because they don't have a choice, but your ego cannot be larger than your care, concern, and commitment to building a team and carrying people with you. And I think that's one of the big mistakes we sometimes make as owner managers, where we, at one level, Ajit, we go through the pressure that the risk is ours. And when things don't go right, we tend to get really angry because we realize that at the end of the day, others can walk away, but we don't have a choice. We don't have an option. Second is when the recognition and the reward comes from the external world, from our customers, dealers, and profits are good. We get a sense that I did it. Of course, we keep saying that we are a team, but somewhere deep down, you feel good about yourself that I
True.
did this. Right? It's human. It's natural. And I think we have to be careful that our emotions don't get the better of us either when things don't go right or when things are going really well. So that ego is something which we have to be very careful of as a leader. I'm not for a moment taking away from a strong personality. I'm not taking away from dynamism. I'm not taking away from being a visionary or leading from the front, being extremely articulate and inspiring people. No, not at all. I'm all for, a strong leadership demonstration out there. But we have to be careful that the ego is not interfering with our leadership. So since you asked about leadership, that's one. The second thing is, there is a classical leadership style, which is the typical carrot and stick approach. Yes, you hold people accountable, and if they don't perform beyond a point, you kind of take drastic action. And on the other hand, you kind of incentivize them, and very often as owner managers and entrepreneurs, we feel I'm paying well, and therefore I expect. My experience has been that of course money is important, but people respond to appreciation and respect as much, if not a lot more, than just the economic value. And we've had uh, a reasonably low attrition rate in our company. For the longest time, we had an attrition rate of less than 3%. I think now it's about 7-8%. But I still think it's a good number, all things considered. Our average tenure in the company is now about 12-14 years. And in fact, a lot of our dealers and customers remark that it's great to see that people are with you in the company and they've been there for a while. But behind all of that, and what does it take to carry people? We've always said that when you work with us, you get three values. You get an economic value, you get a professional value, and you get a personal value. Economic value is, of course, the compensation that you get, but you also get a professional value. We're a very hungry organization to learn. So there's a lot of knowledge management. We teach a lot. We trust people. We empower people. So people working with us get that sense of freedom and empowerment where they can make decisions which normally in other typically small medium sized organizations like ours they would have to check with their bosses, or the owner would insist that you check this with me. But in our case, they can make a decision. If somebody has to air freight material from Sweden to India or from Bombay to Ludhiana, they don't have to check with me, no matter what the cost, because they're doing it for the customer, right? So there's a lot of uh, professional value which you get. And the third is the personal value. I'm not saying that we do things which, there are companies that do it bigger and better than us, but as a small business, we give, medical, mediclaim and medical insurance. We give 6 months maternity leave. I give 1 month paternity leave. Tell the men in the company that you're no lesser of a father than I am. And I took time off when my kids were born. And your family is a stakeholder. So we will pay you 1 month salary to take care of your wife and child at home. Uh, Work from home is still an option in our company, right? We give home loans. I mean, if somebody wants to study, we pay 50% of the education fee, that don't stop studying because of money. That's our responsibility. So I'm saying there's a lot of personal value that you get as well. Flexi working hours. So when you're to carry people, you have to put all these three values together. Only then can you create value in their life.
I'm going to pick up a cue from what you just said about carrot and stick. That's a very standard way how most organizations tend to work, or most managers tend to operate. Could you discuss with me a time when you had to carry a team through a significant crisis or a change,
Hmm.
and how do you balance between pushing for results and ensuring the well-being of your team? That's always the crisis that, as managers, you always land up. Look, I want the well-being of your team, but I need to push you hard to get those results. Can you recollect some instance or a time?
So um, I think all of us went through the same situation 4 years ago when COVID hit us. What was our approach? Very simple. We said, first things first, uh, you will get your salaries. We paid salary every month. Second is, we announced that there'll be a 15% scale back for certain pay grades and above. But I promise that if we cross 65% of our turnover, we will reinstate that 15%. We touched, I think, 75% of our previous year turnover. So we were above break even, and we didn't cut a single rupee. People below a certain pay grade were fully protected, irrespective of what turnover we hit. In the first 3 months, we had zero sales. We were running huge losses in our books because there was no revenue, there was only cost. But because we had built reserves and we had been running ourselves in a particular way, we paid salaries every month, right? So this is just a small demonstration of what we did in a very difficult time. People needed to work from home. We got them Wi-Fi, and we did all the practical things that we needed to. When the first or second phase wave of COVID and lockdown and all that was over, people said, "Look, we have practical difficulties, child, this, that." We continued the work from home facility because we trusted people and we have a strong trust environment and culture, which therefore it allows us to do that. We still don't have a problem with people working from home if they have to, right? And to your point as to how do you push people and for results on one side and pushing people, again, if we pose it as an either or at kind of opposing each other and a bit of a tension and a friction over there, then yes, it's a challenge. But we've looked at it very differently. I think people in the company have realized that their future is linked to their performance and working hard. And we are very open and transparent about our numbers, about our plans, about what the impact of what they do and don't do and how it means, what it means to them. And we have a kind of an annual sharing of an incentive pool which goes down from the senior most to the newest and the junior most person in every department. It's not an incentive only for the sales team. So every person in the company is a beneficiary of this shared incentive plan. So it's really, if you ask me, the word I would use is first explaining, then inspiring, and then working alongside and helping the team achieve the numbers, not only because it's great for me personally as the owner, for us as a company, but also for them as individuals who are working so hard. So that's worked for us at least. And maybe we're a small company and it works, but I'm just sharing with you what's worked for us.
Superb, yeah. I love this conversation. Maybe you and me are going to take this discussion offline. There's so much of insights that's coming on this. But for our viewers, well, we've run out of time. That's the only time that we've had for this discussion. And this discussion has been thought-provoking with some deep insights. So we would encourage you to start these discussions with your family, your friends, and spark a conversation and see where it leads. And we'd love to hear from you. Join the dialogue on our social media platforms. Share your questions, your learnings, and the insights you've gained from this episode. It's through these shared experiences and perspectives that we all grow and learn. Your voice matters in shaping a more ethically driven business world. That's it for today. Join us next week, next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another enriching episode of Life.EV, where we continue our exploration into the fascinating world of exploring values in our lives. A big thank you to Vivek for his invaluable contributions as always, and we're looking forward to diving deeper into these critical discussions in our next session. See you next week, where we will unravel more insights and perspectives that shape our ethical compass. Thank you for listening, and remember to reach out to your friends and get a conversation going on Life.EV, exploring values. Thank you, Vivek. As usual, pleasure always
Thanks.
talking to you.
Thanks, Ajit. Pleasure being here.
Bye bye.